Hi, everybody. It's Kelly Russell, the Rock Your Joy Coach. Thank you so much for joining me on this live entitled, Does Being Spiritual Mean I Have to Be Broke? And I was inspired to talk about this because I hear from a lot of people when we do work around the topic of abundance. People get kind of weird about it and feel like there's something wrong with wanting to have money, wanting to have every all the freedom and options that having money gives us. And instead, kind of feel like I'm like, buying into the illusion kool-aid with regard to kind of being a Course in Miracles student. There's the world isn't real, so there's no such thing as money, and so I shouldn't want to have money. And you know it's like, well, yes, I understand that from a Course in Miracles philosophy. I understand that, and we do live in the world where we interact in this dream of the world. We interact with things like breathing air, drinking water, eating food, and having money. And so if we don't have money in this world, then we're still living in a dream, but the dream we're living in is a lot harder because we don't have money. So I don't think that money is certainly not the root of all evil. I think that the way that we think about money can and the way that we perceive it and how we feel about ourselves around it, and certainly how we can absolutely make money our God and, sort of worship it and do everything, whether we want to or not, in the service of it. And so I wanted to just kind of talk about this and maybe see if we could get a little sanity going here around the whole subject. So if we look at it like we look at other qualities of that we have of the creator, right? So there's a part in the Course in Miracles that says, it's one of the lessons, and the gist of it is that every quality of the divine has been instilled in us. So love created me loving, kindness created me kind, joy created me joyful, generosity created me generous. And those are all God qualities or divine qualities, and we have all of those. And one of those qualities is abundance created me abundant. It's part of who we are as eternal beings, as extensions of the love of our creator. We have all of the same qualities that our creator possesses, and we have inherited them all as part of our divine birthright. And so abundance is one of them. And what happens when we find ourselves in a situation in our lives where we are not experiencing abundance, and we're having the opposite experience instead, and feeling scarcity and being in shortage consciousness and having lack and limitation and all of the ways that that presents itself in our experience, it's because that's what we're believing. That's what we're believing is our reality. It's what we believe is available to us. It's what we think is what we deserve, what we're worthy of. This is the best that I can have. It's not available to me. And we tell ourselves all kinds of stories around money. Is one of the biggest things that we have stories around. Why we don't have it, and then we have a whole big story about why we don't have it. We don't have it because of the way that we grew up, or we don't come from a family that has money, or I don't do an occupation that is a well-paid occupation, and so I'm limited by what I do for work or by my education, or by what the employment rate is, or my experience or lack of it is. And this is another reason why we get into like another story that we tell around money, which is I can't do what I want to do for money. I can't do what I want to do for a vocation. I can't follow my bliss. I can't live my passion and have what I love be my right livelihood, because what I love doing doesn't make money. You can't be have wealth doing being an artist, or I could never make it into something I could make money at. And so those are all stories that we tell ourselves. And the way that stories work is that they are self fulfilling. And so we really have to look at the stories that we're telling ourselves around money and the way that we look at it. And one of those big underlying stories that a lot of us have, um, I think part of it is because of, um, it's not the fault of spiritual traditions that we may have grown up with. It is the how the meaning has been made of some of those things that have been taught in some spiritual traditions about money being bad, that if you're rich it means you're greedy, it means that you're not aligned. If you have wealth, that somehow you're spiritually bankrupt, that the two don't go together, that money is dirty. As I said before, it's the root of all evil. That there's something inherently wrong with or bad about having money. And it's interesting too, because it's not just about having money, because we're supposed to have enough money to run our lives. That's the expectation. Because if you don't have enough money to run your life, then there's another story that gets going about how you're a loser because you don't have enough money to run your life, and you should, and what's wrong with you because you don't, and you're failing in that area. And so that's bad. But if you have too much money and you have way more than you need, and you just have, more than you know what to do with, and you can do all kinds of fun things and stack your paper in the bank and take vacations whenever you want and spend it on whatever you want it to, then somehow that's also bad too. So we sort of hold ourselves and each other in this kind of, this narrow area, this narrow window of like the kind of money that it's okay to have. And so it's really interesting how we are with around that. And then it's interesting how we are around other people that we know. If somebody hits it big or is really successful and gets rich, especially if they weren't always, and they weren't when we knew them, but then now they are. We also have these kind of weird meanings and stories that we make up about them. And so money is kind of a loaded subject. And so really, for us to be able to be, have be a little saner around money, to be look at to look at what it really is. So money's just a tool. That's all it is. And just like anything else, our having it or not having it is a result of the way that we think about it. Just like our having or not having anything is a result of the way we think about it, whether it is a happy, loving relationship, or uh, a fit and strong and energetic body, or a home to live in, or a car to drive, or a job that we love, or like whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. It all has to do with how we're aligning ourselves with it, and whether we believe that we are worthy of having it. And we can get behind a lot of those other things. A lot of times we can think that we're worthy of having a good relationship, or we're good at we're smart and we have a good education and we're skilled, so we deserve to have a decent job and be paid well for it. And but when it comes to kind of money in general and having wealth, we I think that there's a big part of us that thinks that we don't really deserve it and we're not really worthy of it. And so, what the important thing to remember here is a couple of things. One is that if we were divinely created, as the Course in Miracles teaches that we were, and that's a whole platform, is that we are an extension of the love of the divine, and that we are pure, innocent, whole, as we were created to be. That we were are free, and that we are um, have every quality that the divine has, as I said. Then that means that just sort of like by association, we are deserving, we are worthy. I mean, would you say that the creator wasn't worthy of having all of the qualities that the creator has? Of course not. We think of the creator, how whatever our understanding is of our higher power, we we have an idea that it is perfection, and that it's coming from a place of love. And so that's what we need to be able to look at ourselves the same way. Like, there is no difference between us and our creator, except that we are the created, not the creator. However, we do have the ability to create. That is, that's our birthright. That's our superpower. Our superpower is being able to use our creative ability, which is being able to use our minds to decide what it is that we want to create, to feel it in our emotions, to picture it, to imagine it, our power of imagination, and then infuse it with our desire and believe that it's something that we can have and that we are worthy of it, and expect it and know that it's on its way to us. And then that's what happens. And if it's not happening, it is not because of God's will. It is not because we don't deserve it, or that we're bad, or it's our karma, or anything like that. It is simply because we're not yet energetically aligned to be able to receive it. We may have created it energetically with our desire. That's where our creativity is. And so we can look at whatever it is that we have said that we want, wealth included, as okay, I've already stated my intention that I want this or I desire this. And so I can trust that it's already energetically created. It's already uh, exists in vibrational form. But am I a match for it? An am I at the frequency that I need to be at? Am I the version of myself that I need to be in order to receive whatever that is? And that's all in our minds. It doesn't have anything to do with our circumstances. It's all how we think about who we are, and how worthy we are, and how aligned we are with love, and with gratitude and appreciation, with generosity, with trust, and with knowing that this belongs to us, that it is ours. This is our absolute right. And then we just have the expectation for it. So the first piece of that is, if you don't believe that you are abundant already, then that's the place to start. Because if you don't believe you're abundant already, it's going to be very difficult for you to align with any kind of any kind of abundance, abundance of anything that it is that you want. We're talking kind of in specific about financial abundance. And so if you got to get behind the idea that it's already yours, that you already have it and it's already within you. You just need to align with it. If you don't think it's yours and you don't see any way of it happening and you think it's so far away and I'm never going to be able to have that, or any of those self-negating, lack oriented thoughts, that's probably what is going to be your truth. Not because it has to be, and not because it's anyone's will except your own, and it's not really the will that you I know it's not the will that you want, but it's the will that you're projecting with your thoughts. Because if you think I don't have that, you know, let's be realistic. You look at my bank account, there's a dollar in it. I don't have any investments. I don't own any property. I'm spending every dollar that I have. Like this is just the way it is. This is just my situation. How is it going to happen for me? And people do say things like that to me. And that's one of the tricks about anything that you want to bring into your experience with everything's brought into your experience with your mind, with your thoughts, with your belief, with your powered by your emotions and your ability to imagine it and picture it. And so the if if that's your belief that you can that it's something's not available to you, then that's that's your point of attraction. That's what you're offering. And what you say you want, there's way too big of a gap between what you think is the truth and then what you're trying to make be the truth. And so when people say things like this is just the way it is, this is my reality, I'm just being honest. That I'm just saying what the truth is. I mean, I'm just look, I'll show you, my bank balance. The more that you focus on how things are right now, the more that you are in the process of creating them to be the same exact way tomorrow and next week and in the future, because you're not doing anything to make it any different. And so and I know people will say to me, "Well, so it's basically lying then. Like I'm going to say something that isn't true, and I'm basically going to just, say a bunch of stuff that's a bunch of BS, so that I can what? Trick myself into thinking, no, it's not that. It's not lying. It's not BS. It is knowing, and this is really important. It's knowing that when you when you state an intention, because you are a powerful creator, because you are an extension of the divine, when you state an intention, that intention is immediately fulfilled. And it exists in the ether. It exists in energetic form. It doesn't exist in three-dimensional form yet, because that is where your work is. Your work isn't to do, it's not heavy lifting. Your work isn't to sit around and spend 23 of the 24 hours a day visioning and imagining and doing vision boards and writing affirmations and, wearing yourself out trying to make these things come into your life. You can certainly, those things are tools, and you can usually, not usually, you can always do those things if you want to, and if it's fun for you, and if it's a good way for you to spend some time. And now you've got a nice vision board that you can hang up, and it can remind you of, and remind your consciousness of all the things that you are in the process of creating. But you don't have to do that. You can just know that your powerful intention has already created something. So if your intention is, I want my life to be rich and abundant, I want to live in the abundance that God has imbued me with as part of all of my characteristics that I have that are part of God or part of the creator, then that's already done. That's already a truth. Your job is to not then negate it. with your doubt, with your looking out the window every 5 minutes to see when it's going to get here, with your saying, well, it hasn't shown up yet, so it's probably not going to. Something's wrong. I probably did something wrong. It's probably not coming anyway. That's the way when we create resistance within ourselves, with our self-doubt, with our lack and our limitation beliefs, with thinking that it's not really ours because we really don't deep down feel worthy of it, then that actually ends up becoming the fulfilled prophecy. And again, it's not because of anything except what we ended up doing with our minds. So when we see ourselves shading towards wanting to doubt, or wanting to say it's not happening, or looking at our present reality as the um, evidence of what we are creating, we have to remember that there's a lag time in the human experience. There is a lag time between what we intend and is immediately energetically created, and what shows up in three-dimensional form. There's a lag time there. And so if we know that, then we can say, okay, I know it's already created. I know it's hanging out there. I know it's in my queue, and I know there's a lag time. And what I'm experiencing right now as my reality, and this like dollar in my bank account, and my like scarcity that I'm looking at and showing up yet, that I said that I had the big intentions about, it's because of what I was thinking whenever it was a couple months ago that was negating it. And again, this isn't to blame anybody. It's not to make you feel bad. It's actually, I hope it gives you inspiration and hope and motivation as to how you can align yourself in such a way so that you really can have the life that you want. You need to look, you just need to look at it a different way. And that when you look at your life and you look at your financial abundance and you look at your bank account, you look at what you have and you look at all the stuff that you said you wanted, and you don't see it showing, having shown up yet, to whatever whatever thoughts that your ego mind wants to tell you about that, whatever negative thoughts, whatever lack, limitation, scarcity, shortage thoughts that you want to think about it, you got to drop them. You got to drop the story. And you have to remind yourself instead, it's all working out for me. It's all on its way to me. It's already created energetically. It's inevitable as long as I don't block myself. That's what we do with our doubt and our disbelief and our probably won't happen anyway and stuff like that just doesn't work out for me, and etc. All those ways of thinking, that's how we put those obstacles in our own path. So we have to remember that we are abundance, that is, we are love, we are peace, we are joy, we are we are abundance, we are generosity, we are appreciation, we are gratitude, we are trust, we are all of those things. All of those divine qualities exist within it. And all we're doing is we are aligning ourselves with that aspect of us that already exists. And we are powerful creators. And we are putting our thought energy and our emotion of our desire and our then how we imagine that we feel, how we know we feel when something that we really desire shows up in our lives. And it's so fun and it's so joyful, and we jump up and down and we roll around in it, and we are just ridiculously excited. And that is the state to be in around this, is just feeling good and allowing ourselves to feel, because when you feel good, then you're aligned with those high vibrations. You're aligned with that high frequency of where everything that you are imagining about how you would like to decorate this life that we're living, everything that you want to have in it. It's high vibration, but you can't get there from a low vibration. You can't get there from a place of scarcity or lack or limitation or believing it's not for you or you don't have access to it or some other story that you're telling yourself. That is the surest way to keep it as far away from yourself as you possibly can. So so if you find yourself using language or thinking thoughts that have anything to do with um, yeah, I really want that, but it hasn't shown up yet, so I guess it's just not coming, or I'll believe it when I see it. That is one thought form that is completely 180 degrees backwards or turned around. Believing it when you see it is like a guarantee that you're not going to see it. You're not going to get it because it's the opposite. Seeing really is believing. So you see it first. I'm sorry. Sorry, I said that backwards. Believe it first and then you see it because believing is seeing. Seeing isn't believing. And I'm sorry if I just totally got you turned around about that, but when we believe something and we know that it's true and we know that it's happening and we know that it's just if you're on a road trip and you're going to California, you will get to California if you keep driving and you keep following the directions and you keep going where your GPS or where your map or however you've gotten the directions is telling you to go. And there might be detours along the way, and you might get off the road for a little bit, or you might have adventures that happen, and different exits and different highways than you thought you were going to take. But if you keep going, you will get there. You're not going to wind up in Canada. You're not going to wind up in Mexico unless you want to and you decide that that's what you want to do and you want to take a little side tour. But if you keep driving and you keep driving west, you're going to wind up in California. And this is the same thing. If you've decided that where you're headed is prosperity and abundance and wealth, then if you keep going and you don't turn the car around, because if you're on your way to California, you keep turning your car around and heading back east, you're not going to get there. And that's essentially what you're doing every time you negate yourself and doubt yourself and think it's not happening and think it's because everything that I'm seeing right now is isn't it's not showing up and therefore it's not going to. It's like turning your car around and going back in the opposite direction. So that I hope that that is clear, and I hope that that is helpful. And so one thing I want to say before I make the segue into the next thing that I want to talk about with you because it's related to this, but I want to know who's on here with me. So can you just pop a hello to me in the chat so I can see who you are and say hi? I would love to be able to just know who I'm talking to. And so I'm just going to put that out there and then I'm going to keep going. So, okay, so this is related to what I mentioned it a couple times when I was talking about abundance and talking about the reasons why, why we think we can't have it, why we think it's not going to show up and so forth, is because of the story that we're telling ourselves. And the story is so incredibly important because whatever story that you're telling yourself about anything in this life experience is going to determine what your experience is of it. Your story, you're going to live your story. You already are living your story. Whatever you got going on in your life about anything, whether it's finances or your love life or your health or your fitness or your what's happening with your job or your friends or whatever circumstances are happening, you're living the story that you've been telling yourself. And so if there's any aspect of that story that you don't like and you don't want to keep living and having it show up the way that it is, you have to change the story about it. That's the only way that it happens. So the story is consists of all the thoughts that we have about it, the underlying beliefs that we have about it, and the quote unquote evidence that our ego mind unhelpfully provides us with, oh, everything that is in the past is responsible for why your story is the way that it is now. And not only that, but it can't change. And so everything in your future is going to be the way that it is now because of your past. So you have to blame your past for everything that happened. And then there's nothing you can do about it. And that's just going to be your future. And too bad. I guess, you didn't hit the lottery with like whatever happened to you in your past. That's a very typical egoic thought form to basically say, you're screwed. Either you're guilty or somebody else is guilty, and it's not going to get any better. And so, like, that's just the way, that's too bad. And that's the way that it is. Instead of, you can tell a different story about it. The way that your past has affected your present and could affect your future is only if you keep telling the same story about it, because then you're going to keep creating it the way that it is. So if you've told yourself some kind of a story around financial abundance, you were told a story as a kid, maybe, or maybe you came from circumstances where it it looked like financial abundance wasn't going to be available anywhere around there anytime soon, or people literally gave you information that said, that's not the kind of people we are. That's not something we can do. We're not rich like that. Or they gave you messages that having wealth and being rich is bad, or whatever it is. Um, Changing your story about it is the way that you change your life. So toward that end, I want to tell you that the new program that I am creating, I'm so excited about it, and I don't know whether you've heard about it already or not, but it's called literally Unstory Yourself. Be the hero, not the victim of your life. And it's a live program. And I've been in the process of launching it this week, and the enrollment for it ends tomorrow at midnight. And it's not going to be available after that. And it's not going to be available in the form that I'm offering it, because I'm creating the program, which means that whoever joins me in this 6 weeks, it's live coaching. It works out to be, I think, 9 hours of live coaching, because it's 6 weeks of 90-minute sessions in which it is interactive, and I am teaching and I'm coaching you live, so that whatever situations and circumstances you bring to those sessions, I'm going to coach you around what your story is about it, so that you can identify the story, so that you can change it, because you can't change it if you don't know what the story is. And a lot of times people have been living the same story unconsciously for their whole lives, and so they don't know what the story is, and they can't find it. It just seems like the truth to them. It seems like fact, but that's not what it is. And I don't know if you have ever, any of you who have ever wanted to do coaching with me, or expressed the desire to do coaching with me, and maybe, the budget just wasn't there for it. I charge $3,400 for 3 months of coaching, which amounts to be just around 9 sessions, 9-hour long sessions. And so if that was not something that felt doable for you, being able to have access to me for live coaching in this way, for the price that I'm offering at might be a really great opportunity for you. So this program is going to be, when it's completed and it's recorded, and you will not be featured on any of the recordings, so you don't have to worry about that. And the link is on the screen there and in the chat. It will be priced at $997 for the fully completed program in its recorded form. You have access as what we call a beta member, meaning that you are in as I'm creating it. You're in on that. You're attending those live sessions that are going to turn into this program. And I'm offering it to you as a beta member for $497. So for 50% off of the price it's going to be sold at, and you're getting it live, which means when you're doing the program and I'm talking about it and you have a question, you can ask me in during the live coaching part of it. You can ask me your questions and I will answer them right then. If I give homework, as I will be doing, so we'll be doing some exercises during the live coaching, and I'll be doing exercises. You will be doing exercises for homework, and when you come back to the next session with your homework and you have a question about it, I will be there to answer the question. So, in my mind, live programs are great for that reason. And so, I can't emphasize it strongly enough how this could benefit you. Whatever change you might have wanted to make in your life, if you have wanted to work with me or with a coach because there was a change you wanted to make, this is such a great opportunity. I did the math the other day, and I think 497, I'm not, math isn't my thing, by the way, but 497 divided by 9 sessions is something like $55 a session, which, if you think about it and you think about what you want to transform in your life and the change that you want to make and what you want to bring about and the intention that you want to breathe life into, or the goal that you want to reach, $55 a session seems like, to me, a pretty sweet deal for being able to do that and have a companion along with you that is very well versed in helping people to transform their stories, because that's what I do for a living as a coach. It's what I helped people do in my psychotherapy practice, and it's certainly what I've done in my own life. And financial abundance is one of the stories that I have worked with in my own life and made it change my own story and made um, seen very, very different, a big transformation and very, very different outcomes based on the fact that I wasn't telling myself and the same negating story over and over again and then seeing the evidence of it day after day. It's just the way that it works. So, if you have questions about it, you can put a question on the chat on the screen right now if you have questions on it. If you're watching this replay, you have tomorrow and tonight and tomorrow to ask me questions about it. If you put a question in the chat of or the comments of the replay, I will answer it. If you want to private message me, I will answer you. If you want to email me at kelly@rockyourjoy.com, I will answer you. There's ways to get in touch with me on my website as well, which is rockyourjoy.com. So, my suggestion is to go to that link and check out everything that I talk about on the sales page of this program. I talk about it in the video. I talk about it in, what the benefits are to you. But, if you have wanted, I know there's so many things in my life that I wanted to be different, that I was telling myself a story about, that I couldn't finish my degree because it wasn't practical. So I couldn't be a therapist because I couldn't stay in school for 5 years because I had to work. That I couldn't teach a course in miracles because I didn't know it well enough and I wasn't enough of an expert in it. And there were so many other teachers that were better than me. That I couldn't have financial abundance because my grandfather, lost all of our family money, and I like, it's just the way that our family's been, and that's been the energy of the family, and so I couldn't break out of that, and I couldn't have a happy relationship with a partner because of they were this way and they were that way. And I mean, I could go on and on and on about all the stories that I had going, none of which are true, all of which were just a constellation of thoughts and beliefs that I had from wherever I got them. And it doesn't matter where I got them, because, as I always say to people, like, the part of your story where you're saying who was responsible for for why you can't have whatever it is that you want, whose fault it was, or why you weren't given better messages, or why you weren't in a better circumstance. That's all just part of your story, also. And the why of something, the reason we tell ourselves why we can't have this or that, it's not the truth. It's not ever the truth. It is just the way that we have learned to think about it, which is what becomes the story. And then the story ends up staying the same reality. So you're going to keep living the same story until you change your mind about it, as I've said. So I would love I my favorite thing in the world is to work with people on changing their stories and seeing the transformation that happens, and seeing how people light up, and how they look at their lives so much differently. I mean, just even sometimes from one session to the next, when they just undo some thought form that they had, some way of looking at whatever's gone down, and they just change one small thing about it, and they look at it from this perspective rather than this perspective, and it looks completely different. Or some of the things that I do in helping people to transform their stories have to do with certain practices, and engaging in certain things that help them to be more aligned. And so I'm going to teach you all that. Basically, I'm going to teach you everything that I have done that has transformed my stories, so that it's a happier life, a happier dream, a happier existence. And that's really what I want for you. And so again, if you have any questions about it, put them on the screen. I would love to answer them right now, during our Q&A, which is coming up in a couple of minutes. I also don't see, out of the 6 or 7 people that I see on the screen, on the little thing that tells me how many people are in this live, I'm not seeing anybody that's introducing themselves. So I would really love to know who you are. Um, and just I will say that one of the things that sometimes holds people back from moving ahead with something like this, and diving in and saying, "Yep, I'm just going to do this program. I'm going to enroll in it. I know that there's something there for me. I know that it's going to help me get unstuck and undo and move forward and let go of and shift something." Because there's an aspect of you, if this program is for you, there's an aspect of you that knows that already, that higher self within you, that inner being, that guide within you, that always has your best interest at heart, and is never going to guide you into anything that's not going to be helpful and loving for you. There's that other voice, that voice of the ego, or that voice of the conditioned self, that often is that voice of doubt, of like, but what if it doesn't work, and what if she's full of shit, and what if I can't have what I want, and what if I can't have that dream, and what if that's really, like, what if I do it and I fail. It's That's a story too that we're telling ourselves. So if you don't go toward it, and you don't tell a different story, then I'm not going to say that you're going to fail, but I'm going to say you're not going to change the circumstance that you're in. So changing the story is going to be the most important thing you can do. If you think you can change the story on your own, I'm in full support of that, but I will say, if you could have changed the story on your own, why wouldn't you have done that already? And so you've got somebody right in your corner right now that's offering you an opportunity for one more day that could actually really turn things around for you, for a fraction of the price of what it will be offered at later. So 50% off, which is again $497. But also, if you think about all the things that you might have done already in the service of trying to bring this dream about, or make this change in your life, um, that's been a cost to you already. So, hi, Thomas, Norman. Better question. What's my purpose here? So wrong questions here. Okay, so thank you for your feedback, Thomas. that's not really the purpose that I'm offering this talk about. I know that I've seen your comments before on some of my videos and so forth. And so I understand that you're not in agreement with me, and that's totally fine. But I'm also, that's not something that I'm interested in doing, is debating about it while I'm offering some information that I think could be helpful to some people. And it's okay if you don't count yourself among them. It's totally okay. So, um, I I'm just asking if anybody else has any more questions, because I would love to answer them. If you've got questions about what we talked about, what I talked about today in terms of your abundance being what it is in terms of your divine birthright as part of the extension of God that you are, and abundance is part of that, or anything that I talked about in terms of using your mind, as the creator has extended to you, like we are the thought in the mind of God, and that is how we have been created. And so again, using our mind and creating whatever it is that we are deciding that we want to create. And in this world, if you're a Course in Miracles student, seeing this world as a dream, being able to have the dream be the happy dream of having to not struggle while you're in the process of waking up, which is what I always teach. That, as a Course in Miracles student, yes, this is a dream that we're experiencing, but just like in this dream, there are certain forms of magic that we utilize because they're part of the dream. We utilize air, we utilize water, we utilize food, we utilize medicine. It doesn't mean that those things are our God, and it doesn't mean that those things are even real. It just means in the dream that we've created, those are things that we believe that we need, and we're in the process of waking up and realizing that we don't need any of it. But while we're in the process of waking up, money is one of those things, one of those uh, tools of magic that we can either have enough of in the dream and have it be one way and give us the options and freedom in the dream that it does, or we can choose to have it be another way where we have scarcity and lack and limitation. We're still in the dream, but we're having a dream where we're struggling with those kinds of things, which can be really distracting around keeping your mind focused on what you want to be thinking about in terms of awakening. So I'm just looking to see if there's any more questions that I can answer. And so I'm just going to keep going. And if somebody wants to ask a question, I will I will answer it. But in the meantime, so one of the stories, if you will, that um, I had going in my life, and I'm going to tell you this because it's the same process that I'm talking with you about. I I wanted to teach A Course in Miracles. I was a Course in Miracles student for since probably about, as I said, 20, maybe 22 years. I don't know if I said that or not. And after maybe about 10 or 12 years, I I wanted to teach it. I wanted to um, talk about it with other people. I wanted to. I didn't know. I just felt like I was being called to teach it, and I didn't have any idea about how any of that could happen. I mean, it's not like there were just some Course in Miracles place that I could go apply to and say, "Can I be a teacher?" But I put it on a vision board, and I cut out a little picture of A Course in Miracles. I wrote, teacher, I'm a teacher of A Course in Miracles around that picture. And I don't even know when that was. I guess I would say it was probably, I'm trying to think of where I lived at the time. It was probably somewhere around 2000 and like 5 or so, 2005 or between 5 and 2000, like maybe 8. And I put it on a vision board and I looked at it a lot. And then I was really busy at that time and I was going to school and doing different things and whatever. But I just had that kind of, I had put it out there and I had it in the back of my mind. And all I did was put it on a vision board. I wasn't even really looking at, I don't even know if I was looking at it every day. But not that long after that, a couple of years after I did that, I decided to start a Course in Miracles group in my home. And so I did that. And, the group, um, all these people started coming to the group. And so there was a nice group and it was very lovely situation. And I loved it. Um, and I was not really, I was everybody in the group was kind of sharing. So I wasn't just, I was facilitating it, but I wasn't just only doing the teaching, but that was my first foray into doing some of the teaching. And then I heard about an organization, um, and I got contacted by somebody in that organization that was called the Teachers of God Foundation. And they knew that I had a group, and they were a Course in Miracles teaching organization. And they happened to be giving classes literally in the next town over from where I lived. And when I started going to that group, like there were people that were coming from all over and from even out of state to go to those meetings. And it was in the next town over from where I lived. And in very short order, I became friends with the founders of the Teachers of God, who were Lisa Natoli and Bill Free. They asked me if I would be interested in teaching there. So I started teaching there. And then they asked me if I wanted to contribute to their blogs. So I became a blogger for them. And then they invited me to be on their board. And it just kind of went, it went on from there. And before I knew it, I was teaching on a regular basis. I started a coaching practice where I specialized in coaching people around the Course in Miracles. And that was like 8 years ago or something like that. And since then, the teaching has just gone on from there and I've been able to do so much more of what I love to do. But it started with one little intention. And the less that I got in my own way about it, one of the ways that I got out of my own way about it was that someone that I really um, respected and admired and knew of as a Course in Miracles teacher told me one day over coffee that she said, you're already a coach. You might not have any clients yet, but you're already a coach. So you should just call yourself that and start doing it. And so anyway, that was the story of me getting out of my own way and letting go of the part of the story where I thought I couldn't do it and I thought it couldn't happen because I couldn't see it. I gave it to spirit, and that's the thing, is that's one of the things that we talk about in this course is your spiritual practice and how to align with that spiritual practice to be able to hear the guidance of whether you call it the Holy Spirit, whether you call it the universe or Jesus or your inner being or the great I am or your higher power or your high self. It doesn't really matter what the name for it is that you have. It's far more important that you spend the time with it. And it's just like any relationship. It's like a relationship that we have in the world with other people. If you don't spend time on the relationship, even if the person loves you so much, the relationship's going to have a really hard time flourishing if you're not giving time and energy and honoring it as something in your life, as a relationship in your life. And the relationship with the divine is no different. It's not, it's 5:55 right now. It's an angel number. it's not that spirit is ever not talking to us. It's not like spirit's standing around with his arms crossed, being like, well, you didn't call and you didn't tune in. And so, I feel like I'm not important to you. And so I don't want to spend time with you anymore because you're not being a very good, you know, you're not being a very good listener. So I'm just breaking up with you. That might happen on the form in the world of form, but that's not the way it happens with spirit. But it's on our end, because if we're not tuning in and listening to that guidance and giving ourselves that calm place every day to practice our just communing with spirit and our joining of the minds. Our minds are already joined, but it's our attention to our joined minds, then we're going to have a hard time hearing the guidance that's being given to us. The guidance about how to wake up from this dream of the world, as well as the guidance for how to navigate it while we think we are in it. Our inner being, our Holy Spirit, our high self, our God force, the universe understands where we think we are, but knows the truth of us and for us. And so will guide us from that place. So it's never going to guide us toward doing or saying anything that's going to take us in the wrong direction. It's the reason it's going to take us in the direction of love every time. And it may look different for different people. The truth is the truth, but the way that we need it to show up in our lives in order for us to be able to have an understanding of it can be very different, which is why there's not one way for everybody in the universe to think. And it's the reason why there hasn't been any tradition of thought that everybody can be aligned with. We all have our own guides. We all have our own ways. There are thousands of paths to enlightenment, and the Course in Miracles is only one of those. But for people that are open to it, I love teaching it. And to me, it seems like the fastest road, but really it's one path. And so that path informs this course. But you don't have to be a Course in Miracles student to benefit from this course, because I'm giving you very practical application, very practical things to do, and very practical ways to think about it. And A Course in Miracles does not have to be part of it for you. If that's not something that you're aligned with, you will still realize tremendous benefit from it. So I just want to, say it again, that the cart will be open for this course for one more day, which is tomorrow. It ends tomorrow at midnight. So you can go on coachkellyrussell.com/unstory, read about more of it, listen to the video. And, if there's any part of you that thinks that this is going to resonate with you and that there's work that you have to do to bring about some aspect of your life that you want to, I would absolutely love to be the companion to help you. And remember that group coaching is so powerful, because sometimes it can be even more powerful than individual coaching, in the sense that you have the benefit of listening to how everybody else is being coached and the questions and the issues that they're bringing forth, and you're benefiting from that, as well as how you are also receiving the coaching personally. So it's the top of the hour already. I can't believe it. I can't believe it's 6:00. As time has just flown by, as it always does, because time flies when you're having fun, right? And so I love you so much, and I thank you so much for being here with me. And I look forward to seeing you if you wind up in my course again. Unstory yourself, be the hero, not the victim of your life. I would love to meet the hero that is within you. So thank you again. I love you.